Have you ever judged someone before even knowing their story? Imagine being the most feared billionaire in the city, cold, ruthless, and convinced that kindness is nothing more than a weakness. Now imagine being paired with a struggling single father as part of a cruel joke at a luxury charity gala. Everyone expected an awkward disaster. They expected laughter, embarrassment, and another reason to mock the man who didn't belong. But what happened that night left an entire room speechless. One unexpected act of kindness shattered years of pride, changed two broken lives forever, and reminded everyone watching that the richest heart is worth far more than the richest bank account. Before we begin, welcome to BeKindAlways, where every story reminds us that kindness has the power to change lives. If stories that warm your heart inspire you, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and leave a comment telling us where you're watching from. Your support helps us spread more kindness around the world. Now, let's begin today's unforgettable story. Victoria Hayes was known across New York as the Ice Queen of Wall Street. She had built a billion-dollar business before turning 40. Employees respected her but feared her. She demanded perfection, fired people without hesitation, and believed emotions only made people weak. Newspapers admired her success, but nobody ever called her kind. Across town lived Daniel Brooks, a widowed father raising his 8-year-old daughter, Lily. Daniel worked long hours as a mechanic, often taking extra shifts just to keep food on the table. Every evening, no matter how exhausted he was, he made time to read bedtime stories to Lily. Money was always tight, but love was never missing from their tiny apartment. One afternoon, a famous charity announced an unusual fundraising event. Wealthy executives would spend the evening partnered with ordinary people who had overcome life's challenges. The organizers hoped it would encourage empathy. A few jealous executives thought it would be funny to pair Victoria with Daniel. "Let's see how the Queen handles a broke single dad," one of them whispered with a laugh. Victoria wasn't happy. "This is ridiculous," she muttered as she arrived at the elegant ballroom dressed in a stunning black gown. Daniel almost turned around before entering. He had borrowed a suit from a friend, and although it fit well enough, he still felt completely out of place among billionaires and celebrities. When they were introduced, Victoria barely looked at him. "So, you're my partner?" she asked coldly. Daniel smiled politely. "Looks like it." For the first hour, conversation was painful. Victoria answered every question with one-word responses. Daniel never complained. Instead, he asked about her company, listened carefully, and treated her with quiet respect. During dinner, Victoria accidentally knocked over her glass of sparkling water. The expensive tablecloth was soaked. Several guests turned to stare. Without saying a word, Daniel quickly grabbed his napkin and helped clean the mess before the servers even arrived. "It happens," he said with a gentle smile. Victoria looked surprised. She was used to people blaming others or trying to impress her. Daniel simply wanted to help. Later that evening, the event organizers announced a surprise activity. Each pair would visit families supported by the charity. Victoria sighed. "This is a waste of valuable time." Daniel said nothing. Their first stop was a small community shelter. Children ran through the hallways laughing despite having almost nothing. One little boy accidentally bumped into Victoria, leaving fingerprints on her expensive dress. The room became silent. Everyone expected Victoria to explode. Before she could react, Daniel knelt beside the frightened boy. "It's okay, buddy," he said warmly. "Accidents happen." The little boy smiled nervously. Then Daniel pulled a small toy car from his pocket. "I was saving this for someone special." The boy's eyes lit up. Victoria stared in disbelief. "Why do you carry toys around?" she asked quietly. Daniel smiled. "My daughter says you never know when another child might need something to smile about." Those words stayed with Victoria. As they continued visiting families, she noticed something remarkable. Daniel remembered every child's name. He listened to every parent without judging them. Even though he had very little himself, he always found something to give. His time. His encouragement. His hope. On the ride back, Victoria finally asked the question that had been bothering her all evening. "Why are you always helping everyone?" Daniel looked out the window. "When my wife passed away, strangers helped us survive. A neighbor brought meals. A teacher bought Lily's school supplies. Someone paid our electricity bill without telling us who they were." He smiled softly. "I promised myself that if people could be that kind to me, I'd spend the rest of my life passing it on." Victoria became unusually quiet. For the first time in years, she wasn't thinking about business. She was thinking about the lonely childhood she'd hidden behind success. Her parents had cared more about money than family. No one hugged her after difficult days. No one ever taught her that kindness could be stronger than power. The following week, Victoria couldn't stop thinking about Daniel and Lily. Instead of returning to her usual routine, she quietly visited Daniel's mechanic shop. She found him repairing an old pickup truck. "What are you doing here?" Daniel asked, surprised. "I wanted to thank you." Daniel smiled. "You don't have to thank me. But I do." She looked around the small garage. "You work this hard every day?" He laughed. "Every day except Sundays. That's Lily's day." "What do you do?" "We make pancakes, go to the park, and pretend we're millionaires." Victoria laughed for the first time in years. A real laugh. Not the polite smile she wore for cameras. Weeks turned into months. Victoria started volunteering at the community shelter. Her employees noticed she stopped shouting during meetings. Instead of firing struggling workers, she began mentoring them. She even created scholarships for single parents trying to finish college. When reporters asked why she had changed, she simply answered, "Someone reminded me that success without kindness is just another form of poverty." One afternoon, Lily invited Victoria to her school talent show. Afterward, Lily handed her a small drawing. It showed 3 people holding hands. Above them were the words, "Kind people make the world feel like home." Victoria's eyes filled with tears. No business award had ever meant that much. Years later, people still talked about the charity gala where a ruthless billionaire was paired with a single dad as a joke. The prank everyone laughed about became the beginning of hundreds of scholarships, thousands of volunteer hours, and countless lives changed through simple acts of compassion. The people who planned the joke eventually admitted something they never expected. They thought they were humiliating Daniel. Instead, Danielle had quietly transformed the richest woman in the room, not with money, not with power, but with kindness. And maybe that's the greatest lesson of all. You never know whose life your kindness might change. A smile. A helping hand. A few encouraging words. These simple gifts often become the turning point in someone else's story. So today, choose kindness, even when it's difficult. Choose compassion, even when nobody is watching. Because every act of kindness creates a ripple that reaches farther than we can ever imagine. And perhaps, just like Daniel, you'll change a life without even realizing it. Until next time, remember that kindness is always a gift worth giving, and together, we can make this world a little brighter, one heart at a time.